really feels like the creators of this show are onto something. I mean, after everything I've seen politically and just the way people treat each other in general, I don't think the contents of this series are really that much of a stretch, unfortunately. Which feels very horrible to say, and I hope I'm just being a cynic, but man, let's talk about Season 2 of Squid Game. I feel pretty safe in saying that Season 1 of Squid Game was a huge hit for Netflix, and it really took the world by storm. We've seen things like this before. We had the Hunger Games, and yet this feels even more brutal. And maybe it's because the social commentary that it comes with. See, with the Hunger Games, they were being forced to play in those games. In this show, these motherfuckers are choosing this. And they are doing it all for some money. One of the things that really frustrated me while I was watching this season is seeing some of the big-headed arrogance of some of these players. And yeah, I couldn't escape the idea that these were not fictional people. These people were real. By that I mean they feel like some of the people that we are living with, and yikes, for sure. There's an older guy in this season. He really is a piece of shit. Wait a second. Before I get too far, I do want to let you guys know that this review is going to contain some spoilers. You see, the things that I really enjoyed about the second season are going to require me to talk about some of the details. So if you have not seen Season 2 of Squid Games, please come back after you have. Otherwise, you're gonna have the experience spoiled for you. You've been warned. But yeah, this old guy that I'm talking about, he was so desperate to keep the game going, even at the expense of other people's lives. And it just really made him come off as an extremely selfish, entitled asshole. And I just felt like there's a lot of people out there in the world like that. So this isn't that fictional. Season 2 takes place 3 years after Season 1. Player 456, Ji-han, is on a mission to bring down these games. See, at the end of the first season, it's shown that he is completely miserable. In fact, he doesn't even use the money for the longest time because he feels like it's blood money, which it absolutely is. In this season, however, he is using some of this money, but he is only using it in the service of bringing down these games. This is a very different version of Ji-han than we saw in the first season. This man has been through some extremely traumatic events. He lost his mom while he was in this game fighting for his life. He saw so many people that he cared about just get shot and murdered in all kinds of brutal different ways, and it left him very scarred. And he is here because he wants to stop this game, but he's meeting some opposition because some of these players, they don't actually want it to stop. This season really could have ended up feeling like a complete retread of the first season, but thankfully they were able to inject enough freshness into this season to make it not get stale. There is a wealth of really entertaining new characters. The games are different than you saw, other than Red Light, Green Light, that's the same, but the rest of the games, you didn't see them in that first season. So it really does feel like a reinvention and not a retread, not cashing in on what made the first season successful, continuing that story and giving us even more quality content. And there's a lot of added layers to this new season, but perhaps my favorite part of this second season is these new characters. There are some truly memorable faces and personalities this season. I mean, for starters, we've all seen photos of Thanos floating around the web. And no, I am not talking about the guy from the Marvel movies. It's actually a guy who's inspired by the guy from the Marvel movies. He aspires to be kind of like Thanos. He even paints his fingernails different colors like the Infinity Stones. If you haven't seen him, you haven't been on the internet enough because he is kind of going viral. Not that you should be on the internet all the time. Don't take that as an invite to live in your phone. But this character, I thought he was an excellent addition. He is a villain, but he cracked me up left and right. He really loved dealing this brutal ass kick.
Jung-jae, you! Ow! Let's go!
And he knocked out a few players using it, and it cracked me up every time he did it because you really didn't see it coming. From the very first game when he's playing Red Light, Green Light, and he pushes those people and makes them get shot, you can tell right away This is a different kind of character. This guy is even more of a jerk than the bad guy from the first season. And I also found it extremely amusing how he is the only character in this series to simultaneously switch between English and Korean. That was really entertaining, and it just added an extra interesting layer to him for sure. Choi Sung-hung, I hope I didn't totally butcher your name, but you were awesome this season. I hope you're not like your character though. Another standout character this season is an older woman who is in the game with her son, played by Kang Ae-shim. Also, hopefully I didn't butcher your name. I can barely do American names. Her character added a lot of much needed grounding and heart to the story. I think she should get a nomination. Her character felt very real, so authentic. She was funny when she needed to be, but she was someone that you felt like you could connect with. She felt like your grandma or your mom. She felt so real and tangible, and this was another excellent performance. It's kind of remarkable to me how this show manages to be as dark and brutal and horrible as it is while still managing to make you laugh. And I think it's because they know the show is a tad silly, and it kind of leans into that, and it does that with these characters. I really enjoyed this cast, maybe even more than season 1's cast. Sorry. I literally cannot imagine how it would feel to be forced to fight for your life in a game. I'm not even the best player of games in the first place. I'd probably die during red light, green light. Although after seeing this show, I think I can pull it off. But either way, there's games in the show that had my heart racing, that made me feel like this is nonsense. This is bullshit. These games are way too hard. I know for sure the game with the dice where they are like throwing them and trying to catch them. Oh, I'm a dead man for sure if I have to do that. If I have to do the top, also a dead man. There's just some games in this show that are so brutal. I just know I wouldn't be up for it. And to be forced to play in these games, that is insane. But not all these characters are being forced into this. After that first day and they realize what they are into, the players start deciding, do they want to continue with this game or do they want to leave? In every single vote, there was so much more greed than there really should have been. And it really is a commentary on human life and how much value we put on money versus each other. These people lost sight of what they were fighting for, of what it means to be a person. Sure, you might win this game and you might come out of this with a ton of money, but you're not going to be the same person that you were. And if you are the same person, then that means you were a terrible person, and that says a whole nother thing. They all had their own reasons for being there. Most of them were in some massive amount of debt, and they thought this was the best way to get out of it. But the thing is, every time they voted to keep the games going, they were indicating that not only do they not care about their own life, which you don't have to care about your own life. You can go kill yourself. That is totally up to you. But the way they were voting to keep the games going, that was putting a lack of care about other people's lives. And that is hugely problematic. Following up the hugely successful first season was always going to be a huge undertaking. That season got so much praise, so much hype. Doing a second season, I can't imagine what the creator of this show was feeling. I know he said that the first season was extremely stressful for him to make. I think he said that this season was less stressful, but also he had higher expectations, so that probably did add some extra stress for sure. But I think that this is a stellar season. I really enjoyed so much about this season. I was on the edge of my seat. I liked the way this season ended. We are getting a third and final season, and I can't wait for that to happen. I hope it happens quick. It's supposed to come out this year. They don't have a release date yet, but it shouldn't be too long of a wait to get some conclusions. And I really hope to see what's going to happen with poor player 456. This guy, by the way, he doesn't know a friend from a foe, and that is unfortunate. This is now the second time that he has gone hand in hand, arm in arm with a villain of this series, and he didn't even know it yet. This guy needs to learn how to pick better friends. But for me, this season is a 10. I thought it was a masterpiece. I loved so much about it. I'm extremely excited for season 3. That's my thoughts on this show. What did you guys think of it? Please put your thoughts on it in the comments. Let's get a discussion going about this amazing second season. Did you like this video? If you did, get that little like button and hit it right down there. Hit that like button. And if you want to hear more things from me, subscribe to this channel. Later.